Hi, my name is Katie and I am here today to show you how to start seeds for your garden at home if you are on a really tight budget and if you don't have a lot of space. So this is sort of a weird method of seed starting. If you are like an official seed starter person, you'll probably think I'm doing this all wrong, but it works great for me, so I'm just going to share it anyway. So the basis of my method for seed starting is using this mini soil blocker. This is not very expensive. You can get it right on Amazon. I will link in the description the exact one that I have, but this is the mini size. And if you look online for how to use this soil blocker, you're going to see a lot of recipes for like homemade seed blocking mixes where you have to buy perlite and peat moss in really big quantities, go outside and like make this whole concoction. And that is something that I did not want to do because you start seeds in the winter and you don't want to be outside mixing a bunch of stuff up. So I tried a few different methods and I found that this seed starting mix worked really well. So regular potting soil did not work well for me. I also tried the Miracle Grow seed starting mix and it didn't work as well as this one. This is a Spoma potting mix. Again, I just got it on Amazon. And it really was able to make these little blocks that hold together really, really well with just a few tweaks to the seed blocking process. So the first thing that I did was I dumped a bunch of this in a like dish pan from the dollar store and I let it get wet and let it soak for a couple of hours. Again, I did not want to do this outside, so I just did it right in my kitchen sink, which you might think is gross, but it was fine. So I put it in a dish pan and let it soak, and then I came back and started forming the blocks. So if you use some of the official mixes, you can just sort of dunk them in and press it out. It's gonna work fine. With this, it doesn't really quite work that way. So you just take some of that wet soil. You want it to be really wet. Like when you squeeze it, it should be running, water should be running out of it. And then you just push it into the soil blocks and keep pushing it in. And then these are really easy to use. You just gently drop it to where you want it to go, and I'll just show you. It's just like that. That's a horrible noise, but they will pop right out. And so one thing that you cannot do is push them close together, because then when you water them, they will all sort of just combine into one big mass, which you do not want. You want them to stay as blocks. So these trays that I'm using, you could technically fit another one in, but then they would be too close. So you just want to do 4 rows here. And again, I will link exactly what this is because it's kind of critical in the way that I start my seeds, is having this exact thing. 4 rows, and just make sure that they are spaced in such a way that they are not quite touching. Because when the root system hits the air, that is going to stop it growing, and that is how you get those really pretty cubes of roots. So the first process is pretty simple. You just put your soil in here, make the box, and then you put the seeds. It's going to make a little like divot. You put the seed right in that divot, and then you very lightly cover it with a tiny bit more of the seed starting mix. Some seeds are going to require light to germinate, and if that's the case, you don't cover them at all. You just drop it right in the little divot and you're good to go. As you are putting the seeds in these little blocks, you want to make a record of what seeds are going where. So I just do a piece of paper and I sort of sketch out the layout of this block. And one thing you want to make sure you do is sort of give it like a North Star. So I put a star on one corner and then I put a sticker on the corner of the tray to match where that star is going. And then I just simply write out what plant is going in what block. And then once I'm done, this is gonna sound really silly, I tape that map right on top of the cover. Otherwise, I'll lose it, I'll get it mixed up with another one. I've done it probably 5 times and actually just lost a piece of paper entirely. So I started putting this right on top and it works great. That way I always know what is growing where. So then you want to put these on a heat mat. I think having a heat mat is even more important than having a light for your seeds, because if your house is cool, or even if your house is just, like in the 60s, it's going to take so long for them to germinate that they are likely to rot in the process. If you can get them to germinate really quickly, they just get off to a way better start, and the plant is healthy from the very beginning. So what I do is I cover my tray with this plastic lid that comes with it. It has little vents, and I close those up to seal in the moisture and put it on a heating pad in the kitchen. And typically it will germinate. Most things, except for like peppers and parsley, which are pretty slow, most things are going to germinate in 48 hours, which is great. Once 50% or more of your seeds have germinated, you no longer have to seal the moisture in like this. And they should not need to be watered the whole time they're on the heat mat. The cover should keep the moisture in enough. And remember, you started with a very wet soil blocking material. But after they are done on the heat mat, once they germinate, you are going to move them either under a light or outside. At that point, you are going to have to start watering them. So remember, we gave them enough space in this tray, and one of the reasons we do that is so that when we water them, they don't mush together. They keep their shape. So you don't have to worry so much about watering the top, because once they're germinated, it's actually better if they get their water from the bottom, and these channels in this tray really help with that. So you just pour, I just use a cup of water, and make sure it's not too cold or too hot. Pour it just into the base of this tray where there's an open space, and sort of tilt it back and forth and let the water spread all over, and that will be good. So just use common sense when these feel dry to the touch. Give them a little bit of water so that they're constantly, you never want them to totally dry out, but you also don't want them wet all the time. Being constantly moist is okay, but not constantly wet. So just use common sense with that, and water them when they need it. And it's better to give them just a little bit, see how it does, and then add more if you need to, than dumping in a whole bunch and having this just turn to sludge in the pan, which is not ideal. If you are in a very cold climate, you're gonna have to get a grow light. They're not expensive. I have one that I like very much. It's an LED light and it works great. And it's like a panel. So I will link that one. For a tray like this, you're gonna want 2 panels. And you wanna make sure that that they're like an inch above your seedlings, which is really, really low. So you see a lot of pictures where there's like a light up here that's way too high and they're not gonna get enough light. It has to be low down to the seeds. But if you're in a warm climate, you really don't need a light. You can just put these right outside with this lid. So this acts like a little mini greenhouse. So what I typically do is I start one tray of cold, hardy seeds. Like I have a tray of spinach and peas, and those can survive a frost. They'll do okay out in the cold weather, and I just leave those outside. And then this one I just started a few days ago. I'm not even done with it, and it has peppers, some tomatoes, and parsley. So it still has some I just started it. It hasn't even germinated, but that one's gonna stay inside most of the time, and then I'll bring it outside on warm days. But if you live in like I'm in zone 7, so if you're in zone 7 or even zone 6 or warmer, you can probably get away without even having a light and just using this to sort of create a mini greenhouse. So if you are looking to start seeds on a budget and you don't want to invest in all the lights and all the pots and racks, things like that, I hope this was helpful to you to show you that you can just get a lot of plants in a small space and then just keep them outside and let the sun be their light. And most of the time, especially if you are in a warmer area, they will do just fine. So like I said, everything's going to be linked in the description. And if you have any questions, let me know. If you want to follow along on the growth of these little plants, I'll be posting them to my Instagram stories. You can follow me over on Instagram, where I am Hearts Content Farmhouse. And every week I will give you a little update and show you how they're done. So thank you for watching.